Hey, what's up everybody? Back again today with another rookie mistake, and this one's gonna be a little bit different. Before I get into that, let me thank the patrons. Really appreciate you guys. If you're interested in one-on-one video lessons with me, monthly Q&As, being able to send me videos to critique, anything like that, feel free to join the Patreon group. There's a link below in the description. And one more thing before I get into the video, I want to shout out Collage Skateboards. Now, they're not a sponsor of mine. It is my skateboard brand. I started it in 2020. We are finishing up a video right now. We have decks available through Club Distribution. There'll be a link in the description to where you can pick up a deck, a t-shirt, a hoodie, anything like that if you feel like supporting. We have some good stuff. I love the wood that they're using over at Club Distribution. Taken a while to get the proper wood and proper shapes sorted out, but we're finally there. So yeah, consider checking it out and supporting. Thanks to my brother-in-law for making this cool shirt. This actually isn't a graphic that we offer. This is a one-off that was made for me, made in Japan. Really nice quality of fabric. If this is a graphic that you guys think is cool and that we should sell, let me know and I'll make it. Now let's get into today's video. So the last video that I made was the beginning of an absolute beginners series, and I went through the different parts of the skateboard, kind of helping people choose one for them if they're starting to skate, or for their kid if their kid is trying to skate. Just kind of giving people an idea of what to look for when you go searching for a skateboard in a skate shop for the first time. When trying to make the manual video that I've been working on for way too long, basically, like, I have the little video cutaways that I need, and I've been like recording audio and video for it, and then thinking like, I could do better, and then deleting it and starting over. But basically, it brought this particular subject to mind, and that is keeping your toes inside of the board when you skate. This is a big rookie mistake. And the reason that I hadn't covered it before, like, I kind of assumed that it was something that people would already be doing. One of the students was like doing ollies, and he kept leaving his toes of his back foot outside of the board. And I have another group lesson, and one of the other little boys was doing exactly the same thing, and they're able to ollie, but I constantly have to remind them to keep their toes inside of the board. And these two boys specifically don't always listen, and as the result of that, they've developed a bad habit, and it's stopped them from progressing. So especially in the first group, there's all of these boys have been skating the same amount of time. There's 4 boys. I started with them when they first stepped on the skateboard. They've been working with me for a few years, and they're all pretty close in skill, but they're at different levels. For instance, they can all drop in, they can all do rock to fakies. They're all able to do like roll in and fly out on a 5-foot ramp. They're all able to ollie. They're all able to, you know, roll down a set of stairs, lift up and roll off a curb, make it up a curb. But the boy who listens the most, and also who skates the most outside of our lessons, he uses the techniques that I give him all the time and pays attention. So he's able to shove it, able to pop shove it. He's really close to getting his front foot onto a kickflip. And these are 9-year-olds, by the way. I taught him how to board slide, first on a ledge and then on a flat bar. We're learning how to 50-50. He can do feeble stalls, front feeble stalls, front side 50-50s, backside 50-50s, backside disasters on a little quarter pipe. And he's also able to ollie a 3-stair, and a pretty long 3-stair, like not an average length of stair, like maybe 1.5 times the length of each stair, 3-stair. And the big difference is that when I give him a little pointer, he always pays attention and tries to add this to what he does. And the main thing is, with that ollie, keeping his toes from hanging over the edge of the board when he ollies. So a lot of beginners, for whatever reason, they feel more comfortable standing with their toes hanging off the board and popping their ollie that way. And basically what that's doing, it's turning your foot into a piston, right? So you don't have the control, right? Because the way that I teach you to ollie, you keep your toes on the tail, you push down a little bit, and then you push up and then press yourself using your ankle when you're ollieing like this, right? Your toes are hanging over the edge. You're not gonna be able to get as much control. You're not gonna be able to get as good of an ollie, and you're not gonna be able to do other tricks other than the shove it. You can do a shove it this way. You can't do a pop shove it this way, right? Because you gotta kind of pop it like an ollie and pull back. You're not gonna be able to do a ton of tricks once you get there. And I see this with my students all the time. And for whatever reason, some students, when I remind them to bring their toes inside, they'll do it the first time, they'll do it the second time, and then they're right back to toes hanging off. And then when I remind them another time, they'll talk about how difficult it is. And the reason that it's so difficult is because they've built up a bad habit now. And so their body is used to ollieing in this improper way, right? With their toes hanging over the edge of the tail instead of their toes in the center of the tail. And so now it doesn't feel natural for them to pop the proper way with their toes inside. And if you build up bad habits like this, you're gonna just hit a wall when you're trying to progress past the ollie where you've built up that bad habit in the first place. And there are tricks where your toes wanna hang over the tail, but those are gonna be tricks you're gonna do much later. Your impossibles, your tray flips, tricks like that, your big flips, but you're not gonna be able to make it there because there's such a big gap from an ollie to a tray flip, right? You're not gonna be able to kick flip really with your toes hanging over the edge of the tail. You're not gonna be able to like try to do frontside 180s that way. You might be able to do like a rudimentary backside 180, the first type of backside 180 where you're not really popping, you're just kind of scooping. But even then, your toes are gonna make contact with the ground if you're doing your backside 180 this way and trying to pop it. So it's not ideal for that. And it's a thing that if you're one of the people, because it seems like this is just a thing. Like another thing that I've noticed is for most skaters that are learning, turning backside is easier. And especially when it comes to kick turning and carving on ramps. But maybe 1 out of 10 of my students have an easier time turning frontside and a harder time turning backside. This is one of those things. Most students, when I instruct them to keep their toes inside of the tail and not have their toes hanging over, unless we're doing shove-its and you want to grab the edge of the board with your toes, they don't have an issue with this. But some students, and I think it's even fewer than 1 out of 10, but I do have maybe 3 or 4 students out of the 30 or so students that I have, and they'll put their toes over the edge and they'll swear that that's more comfortable for them. And so if you are one of these people, you have to remember that while it might be more comfortable for you now, just because something's comfortable doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do. I'm using an example from my recent life. I've been doing a lot of grappling, a lot of BJJ. And while I had grappled before, it was like in an MMA context. And it's what I'm noticing since I've been doing like specifically grappling is a lot of my natural instincts are counterintuitive to what's gonna work. And I'm a pretty strong guy, so if I roll with someone at the same experience level as me, I could get away with it. But then when you put me against somebody who's like a blue belt or better, it's not gonna work. And I'm just gonna get smothered because I'm doing the wrong thing, even though it feels comfortable for me to do. And it's the same thing with skateboarding. It might be your natural impulse to hang your toes over the edge of the board when you're popping. And you might be able to learn how to do a basic ollie. You might be able to get this high off the ground with it, but you're not gonna be able to get much higher than that. It's gonna stop you from learning other tricks later. And also you're not gonna be able to really apply the ollie to anything, right? So when you wanna learn how to 50-50, and especially the frontside 50-50, because learning the frontside 50-50, a lot of it is about you pulling the board kind of behind you and then bringing it forward with you when you're doing it initially, because it's hard to get that sideways lateral ollie down so where you can land on the 50-50. And you're not going to be able to accomplish this if your toes are hanging over the edge of the tail, right? Because your toes, when you try to ollie that way, your toes are going to make contact with the ground. Also, like I mentioned earlier, when it comes to learning flip tricks, you're not going to be able to do that. So I realize that this could be a very small amount of people, but hopefully the people who need to see this will see this, and then they're able to stop this habit before it becomes too big of a habit for them, and before it causes them to hit a wall, hit a really severe wall and not being able to progress. And then inevitably what happens is when people hit a wall like that, sometimes it stops them from skating, and they're missing out on a whole lot of fun that they could be having if they just either didn't develop this bad habit or if they stopped it as quickly as possible. Another example that I have that would be similar to this is like pushing Mongo. And I might make a rookie mistakes video about pushing Mongo. There are certain issues that pushing Mongo are going to present. I know these days it's not, people don't get shamed for pushing Mongo like they did in my day. And I think that's a good thing. You know, I know people who, when they see a kid pushing Mongo, they're like, oh, he's got to stop doing that. For me, I think of it like this. Pushing Mongo is easier for certain people. And I remember one of my good friends, Ramon Black, who I skated with when I started. He was a really good skater, but when we were all getting sponsored, one of the people we were submitting stuff to was like, you're really good, but you got to get rid of that Mongo push. And he was good. Like, I'm talking, we were already tray flipping off stairs. Like, I think he was doing nose grind, nollie heel flip, and I was doing nose grind, nollie flip out already. And he had to struggle to stop pushing Mongo. And I remember it slowed him down as far as how fast he could push, made it harder for him to do things, but eventually he was able to get rid of it. But because he was so far along in skating, when it was time, when he decided to get rid of it, it was just so difficult for him. But he did it because, you know, he really wanted to pursue skateboarding at the next level, which was getting sponsors and skating contests. And like, especially back then, we started in the late 90s, people would really vibe you out if you pushed Mongo. Now, I don't really care if someone pushes Mongo. I just think it depends on what you want out of skating, right? So pushing Mongo is going to make it harder for you for reasons that I won't kill now. I'll go over them in my video about pushing Mongo. But if you're not trying to get sponsored and you're not trying to like have your skating be used as some type of marketing, it doesn't really matter. If you're able to push Mongo and have fun, then just keep going with it, you know, especially nowadays when people are more accepting and they're not going to be inclined to like make fun of you for pushing Mongo. But if you are trying to get sponsored and stuff like that, trying to skate contests, it's probably going to benefit you to stop. And there's some other reasons that it'll benefit you that I'll go over in the Mongo video. But this is a similar thing. The difference is that you can be successful at skating and having fun and learning a bunch of tricks and push Mongo, but you're not going to be able to succeed as a skater. And when I say succeed, I just mean learning as many tricks as you want to and being comfortable doing them and executing them to the best of your ability, right? Having your toes hang over the edge of the tail when you're popping is going to impede your ability to progress in skateboarding. And that's anything that's going to do that, in my opinion, you want to get rid of. You want to get rid of quickly so that you don't have so much difficulty leveling up. Because skating is really a series of plateaus, right? You start down here, you level up, you hit the next plateau, you level up, you hit the next plateau, and each plateau you get to gets more difficult to rise from. So if you have these bad habits, it makes it that much more difficult. It multiplies the difficulty exponentially. And that's kind of the reason that I've been making these rookie mistakes videos in the first place, so that, and I've got really good feedback from you guys, and I appreciate the positive comments that I get about these rookie mistakes videos. And I just realized that I hadn't really made a lot of those rookie mistakes. They are geared towards beginners, but they're helping some of the more advanced beginners. And a tip like this one is gonna help more of the people that are at the lower end of the beginner scale, because that's where I tend to see this. And it's simply because you can't get to that upper edge of a beginner, right? And I consider that upper edge of a beginner, you know, you can 50-50 on a quarter pipe. You can slappy nose slide and maybe ollie into a nose slide. You can frontside and backside 50-50 on a curb, on a ledge. You can kickflip. You can backside and frontside 180. You can ollie a set of stairs. You might be able to 180 a set of stairs. You might be able to pop shove it a set of stairs. You know, like that's the upper edge of the beginner. And you simply won't get to that point if you don't fix this specific thing. So I know this probably won't be the most visually stimulating video. I am gonna cut in some images of me with my toes hanging over the way that I'm talking about. But thank you for watching, and I hope this helps. I hope that this helps a lot of you. Like I'm not actually sure. I know the videos that perform the best are the ones that are pointed at closer to beginners. I know when I tackle more advanced stuff like, you know, kickflip crooked grinds and stuff like that, just because of, you know, like the bottleneck that you go through where it's like most people don't make it to a kickflip in skating. And so the amount of people that want to learn how to kickflip crook, it's so much smaller than the amount of people that want to learn how to shove it and how to ollie. So hopefully this one reaches the people it needs to reach. Thank you for watching. More videos on the way. Consider joining the Patreon group. Check out Collage Skateboards. You can buy our decks from clubdist.com. That's www.clubdist.com. And enjoy skateboarding.